What if the strange experiences you've been having lately aren't random? What if the restlessness you've been feeling, the sudden moments of clarity, the dreams that linger long after you wake up? What if none of that is coincidence? Most people move through life assuming that big changes arrive without warning. But here's something fascinating. Many people who have gone through major positive shifts in their lives, new relationships, unexpected opportunities, profound personal breakthroughs, later report that they noticed something different in the weeks and months beforehand. A feeling they couldn't quite name. A series of small, strange moments that only made sense in hindsight. Today, we're going to look at 7 of those signs. And as we go through them, pay attention because one of the later signs in particular tends to catch people off guard. It's the one most people dismiss without realizing it could be the clearest signal of all. So, here's the question worth sitting with. What if you're already closer to something amazing than you think? Before we begin, if you've been feeling like something is shifting in your life lately, even if you can't explain exactly what, you're not imagining things. You're not alone in that feeling either. Many people describe a quiet but persistent sense that something is coming before a major positive change arrives. It doesn't always feel exciting in the moment. Sometimes it feels like uncertainty. Sometimes it feels like being stuck. And sometimes it feels like everything is being rearranged from the inside out. What you're about to hear may help explain why. Here are 7 signs that something amazing might be about to happen to you. Sign 1. You feel unusually restless. You may have noticed a growing sense of restlessness that you can't quite trace back to a specific cause. Not anxiety exactly, more like a quiet urgency, like something in you is waiting. Maybe you found yourself rearranging your environment, cleaning out old spaces, changing routines, or pulling away from people and places that once felt comfortable. Many people experience this before a meaningful shift in their lives and don't understand it until later. Some spiritual traditions interpret this kind of restlessness as the soul preparing for expansion. Think of it like pressure building before something breaks open. The discomfort isn't a sign that something is wrong. It may actually be a sign that something old is making room for something new. This kind of internal stirring often appears during life transitions, especially when a person is on the edge of growth they can't fully see yet. If you've been feeling this lately, it may be worth paying attention to what you're being drawn toward, because that direction often matters. But this is just the beginning. The next sign is one that many people experience but rarely talk about. Sign 2. Your sleep patterns have changed. Perhaps you've been waking up at unusual hours. Maybe your dreams have become more vivid, more memorable, or strangely symbolic. Or perhaps you've been needing more rest than usual for no obvious reason. Changes in sleep are one of the most commonly reported experiences before a significant life shift. And while there are always practical explanations worth considering, many people later connect these disruptions to a period of deep internal processing. Some interpret vivid or recurring dreams as the mind working through unresolved questions. Others describe waking up in the early hours of the morning with sudden clarity, ideas arriving fully formed, answers to questions they've been carrying for weeks. This tends to happen when the mind and body are doing work beneath the surface. Something is being processed. Something is being prepared. If your sleep has been unusual lately, pay attention to what surfaces in those quiet moments. The clarity that comes in the middle of the night is often the kind that stays. And Speaking of noticing things, the next sign has to do with something most people overlook completely. Sign 3. Small coincidences are becoming harder to ignore. You think of someone and they call. You come across the same idea in 3 completely unrelated places in a single week. A door closes and another one opens almost immediately, too quickly to feel like luck. Many people begin noticing an unusual increase in these kinds of moments before something meaningful arrives in their lives. The timing feels too precise. The connections, too specific. Some call this synchronicity, the experience of meaningful coincidences that seem to carry a message, even if that message is difficult to decode. Whether or not you believe in any kind of larger intelligence at work, there's something worth noting here. Heightened awareness of patterns often means you're becoming more attuned to your life. You're paying closer attention. You're more present. And when you're more present, you begin to see the threads that were always there. Some spiritual traditions suggest that these moments of alignment appear most frequently when a person is moving in a direction that is right for them, almost like quiet confirmation from life itself. But the next sign goes even deeper than coincidence. Many people describe it as one of the most unexpected signs of all. Sign 4. Old things are falling away. Relationships, habits, beliefs, identities, suddenly things you've held on to for years are loosening their grip. Not always dramatically. Sometimes it's simply that something that once felt essential no longer feels necessary. Maybe a friendship has quietly faded. Maybe you've lost interest in something that consumed you for years. Maybe a version of yourself that you've been performing for a long time is starting to feel like a costume that no longer fits. This kind of natural release is often unsettling in the moment. But many people who have gone through major positive changes describe this exact phase, a clearing, a letting go, as the thing that made space for what came next. It's difficult to walk into a new chapter while still carrying every page from the old one. What falls away isn't always what you wanted to release, but it may be exactly what needed to go. If something in your life is loosening right now, consider the possibility that it's not a loss, it's preparation. And yet, there's a sign that tends to appear right alongside this one. It's quieter, more personal, and significantly more powerful. Sign 5. You feel a quiet, unexplained sense of hope. This one is harder to explain. It's not excitement. It's not certainty. It's something quieter, a low, persistent feeling that something good is approaching. Even on difficult days, even when circumstances don't support it, the feeling doesn't entirely disappear. Many people dismiss this as wishful thinking, but there's something worth considering. This particular feeling, calm, unearned, quietly persistent hope, appears in the stories of people who are on the edge of a meaningful turning point, far more often than coincidence would suggest. Some spiritual perspectives describe this as intuition speaking, before the mind has language for what it already knows. Others simply call it inner knowing. Whatever its source, this kind of hope tends to behave differently than manufactured optimism. It doesn't demand proof. It doesn't require a reason. It simply remains. If you've been carrying a feeling like this lately, even underneath worry or uncertainty, don't ignore it. It may be one of the most honest signals available to you. But the next sign? This is where things become particularly interesting. Sign 6. The right people are beginning to appear. New connections. Unexpected conversations that leave a lasting impression. Someone says something at the exact moment you needed to hear it from someone you almost didn't meet. Many people report this experience, the sense that the people arriving in their lives during a particular period weren't accidental. A mentor who appears, a stranger whose words change the direction of a decision, a reconnection with someone from the past who carries exactly the right perspective for where you are now. Some believe that when a person is moving toward a new phase of life, they begin to emit a different kind of signal, one that draws in people aligned with where they're going rather than where they've been. Whether or not that's literally true, there's something observable here. When we begin to shift internally, the conversations we invite, the spaces we enter, and the relationships we nurture begin to shift as well. Pay attention to who is appearing in your life right now. Some of them may matter more than they initially seem, which brings us to the final sign. And this one, this is the one that tends to stay with people long after they've finished listening. Sign 7. You feel for the first time in a long time like yourself. Not a louder, more confident version. Not a version performing for an audience. Just yourself. Quieter, clearer, more settled in your own skin. Maybe it's arrived in small moments. A morning where you weren't rushing to become something. A conversation where you didn't edit yourself. A decision you made without seeking approval. This is often the most overlooked sign of all because it doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives as a kind of stillness, a homecoming. Many people who went on to experience profound positive change describe a period just before it happened, when they stopped running from themselves, when the internal noise settled, when they began to feel against all odds that they were enough to receive what was coming. Some spiritual traditions describe this as alignment, the moment when who you are and who you're becoming begin to move in the same direction. It's subtle, but it may be the most significant sign of all. Look at what these 7 signs have in common. None of them arrive as obvious announcements. They come quietly, as restlessness, as strange dreams, as coincidences, as things falling away, as a persistent hope you can't fully explain, as new faces at the right moment, and finally, as an unexpected return to yourself. What this suggests is something worth considering. The most significant changes in a person's life rarely begin with a dramatic event. They begin in the interior, in subtle shifts of perception and feeling that most people move past without pausing. At the beginning of this video, we asked a simple question. What if you're already closer to something amazing than you think? These 7 signs point toward an answer worth sitting with. They don't predict the future, but they may describe the present in a way that opens your eyes to what's already in motion. Here's what's worth remembering. The experiences described today aren't extraordinary. They're deeply human, and that's precisely what makes them meaningful. You don't need to be living a perfect life to be on the edge of something wonderful. You don't need everything to be in order. Some of the most remarkable turning points in people's lives arrived in the middle of uncertainty, confusion, and quiet restlessness, not after it was resolved. If several of these signs feel familiar, it may not be coincidence that you're here, watching this, asking these questions right now. Something in you is paying attention. Something in you is ready. The biggest chapters of a life rarely announce themselves loudly. They begin in exactly the way these signs described, in small internal movements, in things loosening and clearing, in a quiet knowing that something is different now. Trust the process that's already underway, because sometimes the most amazing things in a person's life begin not with a single moment, but with the quiet realization that they were already walking toward it long before they knew it.